It did go till 7 p.m. and this storm has been warned, I think, for about 2 hours now. We're also watching that hail and lightning and damaging wind threat. But right now, of course, that main threat is going to be the tornado. So I'll kind of give you a look at the reflectivity. Yeah, I think if you can hop on the wall if you want to. Oh, it's over there. Okay. Either way, we're still tracking it in South Tama, but it does include the city of Tama, which obviously we're moving into a bit of a populated area. Earlier on today, it did pass through Des Moines, didn't necessarily hit those most dense populations, but for the most part, we are still tracking it as it does near our area. We do have some storms down here that I don't want to discount because these could eventually move in as well. 2 tornado warned storms, still a little bit more ways out and doesn't look as strong as far as that rotation. But of course, as we near those evening hours and it starts to get dark, we'll keep a close eye on those as well. Meteorologist Rebecca Kopelman has joined us as well. Not sure if you have anything you want to add.
I was just going to say that obviously we have seen this storm that has been large. It has been doing damage, and this is not one that is something to take lightly, and you can see that confirmed there. So this storm has been producing a violent tornado, and it has that rotation would be on the mostly south side of Tama County. That's why that warning is there for Tama and Vining there. Gilman would be up next, and we're going to continue to just watch how this interacts with the air that's further out to the east that has kind of been stabilized a little bit. We have had several rounds of storms that have come through. The concern would still be into Tama County because Tama has had some time to recover. We in Cedar Rapids have a little bit more of that stable air in place now, so hopefully we see it weaken, but this, unfortunately, has been maintaining itself for quite some time. So as we put kind of a fan on it here and have it out to the north and east, Newburgh, which would be just outside of Tama County around 6:16. So that's 10 minutes from now. These cells are moving very quickly. Sheridan and the Tama area would be around 6:26, 6:25, we'll call it. And Chelsea in Tama County around 6:40. So if you're in Tama County, you do want to make sure that you are taking some of your tornado precautions, going into your safe place, getting ready for that, because this is going to be impacting the county here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So unfortunately, we have had several reports of damage with this tornado. It already has a history of doing damage. It has been happening. This is not an if, this is it is happening. And we can only hope that it does start to weaken. Unfortunately, it still has some instability in the atmosphere, some energy in the atmosphere to work with. So it's not going to quite get stopped just yet. And you can see that intense circulation, those bright greens happening. So definitely a cause for concern with this storm.
And I think it's important to note too, sometimes you see the tornado warnings pop up in red. That's a radar indicated tornado, but when you start to see it pop up in that purple or pink color, that is confirmed and it is on the ground. We can see that on our radar. Some good news that I've been noticing with this storm is it hasn't produced a ton of debris. Well, okay, that's not the best signature we want to see. A little bit of debris popping up. When we start to see some of those blues, that indicates that we're seeing debris lofted into the air. So it's hitting something. It's hitting a building, a home, any sort of tree or that we could see fired up there. And when we start to see that kind of localized into that ball form, it indicates that not only is it causing debris, which is the main injury that tornadoes can cause, but of course it is super powerful. So you probably saw some tweets or saw it on the TV earlier today passing through Des Moines. It is on the ground and it is headed into our area. Still a little bit outside right now, but if you are in the southern portion of Tama County, this is the time that you need to be getting into that safe space. And that safe space should be the lowest level of your home or the most interior room. You want to be far away from windows. If you have a mattress or blankets or anything to drape over you to protect you from that potential debris that I just showed, that is always a great idea to do. So it is moving somewhat quickly. It is moving to our northeast at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. It's kind of sped up, slowed down, back and forth depending on if it's on the ground or not. So again, this is the time to get ahead of it and make sure that you're in that safe space. As you can see, the warning does go until 7 p.m. tonight. So it is a long warning and it is going to take a little bit of time to maybe make its way to you, but it's better to be in that safe space now instead of too late. So if you're just coming in now, because potentially, you're starting to hear those sirens, or that right there is a very strong signature nature. We kind of look for something called this hook echo, and it kind of loops around. That shows the rotation there. And we've been seeing this pretty much all day with this cell. It has lasted just so long. So again, if you're coming in, not quite in eastern Iowa, but really, really close, and is eventually going to make its way into Tama County as it moves somewhat speedily to the northeast.
I was going to say, if we could pop up the green screen here too, if we could have the wall ready at all, that would be great, because what's happening here with this storm has been that it is continuing to strengthen here, and it has this marker that's called a tornado debris signature, and that is what has been it's been concerning. So when you're talking about this debris ball basically happening, you see all these colors on here. This is the correlation coefficient that Sarah's pointing out. Now you see this blue here. This is an indicator of debris that has been lofted up in the air, and that it has been traveling with this storm for quite some time. So we unfortunately have seen confirmation of a tornado. It is still ongoing here north of Kellogg. Here's Highway, Sarah, if you could take that off for me. There's Highway 14, and I'm not sure which one that is, Highway 224. And then this is going to be getting close to the Tama County area. These tornadoes, especially the stronger ones, are going to tend to go on a northeasterly path. And so that has been the direction it's kind of been taking for a while, kind of east-northeast. If we can go back to the reflectivity, Sarah. So you can see when we match it with the actual reflectivity, what's happening here is you can actually see this ball that's showing up on the radar. That's where the tornado is. And then on the north side of it, don't want to discount this part either, we have had some very large hail that has occurred with this storm as well. It doesn't look to be quite as much as what was happening earlier on, but you're likely going to get into some very torrential rain. You're not going to be able to see the tornado, and you're also going to have possibly some hail on the north side. So even if you're not necessarily right in the direct path of this tornado, which would head toward the city of Newburgh right now and likely take a path that could be very close to or just south of the city of Tama, then you need to be in your safe place. You're not going to be able to see this storm. The sun is going to start to go down, and we are going to have some issues here. This tornado has had a history of producing damage. There have been homes damaged. There have been farms that have damage, and this is there's nothing in the way to stop it just yet. It will soon, hopefully. It will run into some more stable air. The sun's going to set, and we are going to have this storm eventually weaken here. But we do right now have a strong tornadic storm that is moving into our area.
And to no surprise, we did actually get that watch extended into eastern Iowa. I did mention earlier it was really just kind of localized to the southern half of central Iowa. Now has been extended to really Highway 20 and south. So all those counties are now in a tornado watch. It does go until 11 p.m. and that may be just a little bit late. I think we're going to see that cold front catch up and things kind of die down here before that. But just keep in mind that we could be having severe weather for the next several hours here, especially within the next hour of that tornado warned storm. So if you're just hopping in now, oh no, there we go. If you're just hopping in now, I'll give you kind of a refresher of what's going on our radar and satellite here. So we do have this strong line of thunderstorms starting to push into eastern Iowa. One tornado warning currently, or one warning really altogether in effect for our area. This is for the southern half of Tama County. We've been seeing this storm all the way off in western Iowa, tracking to here. It has touched down, produced a ton of damage near and south of Des Moines. Near Newton, it just passed through. We did have confirmation that it was on the ground just north of Newton. So this isn't old news. It was just moments ago on the ground, if it's not still right now. Luckily, it's kind of dodged some more of those populated areas. We've kind of been into more of those rural areas, but we've still had damage to homes. We've seen power lines down, trees down, just glancing at some of the reports. We do have meteorologists Nick Stewart and Nathan Santo Domingo out there, and they've said they've seen their fair share of roofs off the ground. Again, power outages, power lines over the roads. So we're keeping a close eye on this. It's moving northeast at about 45 miles per hour. I'll kind of time this out for you really quick. Having some issues with this mouse today. Do not know why. Let's click here and come on back. Here we go. I'll time it out for you again. It is moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. It will likely pass near or just south of Tama. So if you are in that area, this is the time to be considering getting into your safe space. But about 617 in Newburgh, 628 in Sheridan, 640 in Chelsea. And of course, if it does continue to hold the strength, it'll be in Belle Plaine just after 6:45 p.m.
And let's go down to those cells in the south too, because yes, this is starting to head into Tama County, but let's go down to the south because we have these two tornadic storms. These don't have that confirmed marker on them, but that is getting close to now Keokuk County. You can go ahead over there.
Yeah.
So we do have multiple storms now that have been tornado warned today, and this is just southwest of Oskaloosa, Eddyville here, and then we have the one that has the confirmed tornado that is just near Tama County. So Sarah, you can go up there.
Not sure if they were keyed it up yet, but
And if we could get the green screen, we could get camera 1 up on the chroma, that would be great. But I know that meteorologist Nathan Santo Domingo and meteorologist Nick Stewart are both out there on that Tama County cell that's just about to get into Tama County, and they're saying that the service is really rough out there at the moment, but it is in front of them. You can actually see, Sarah, that
yeah,
that's not looking quite as organized as it was.
No, like I said with the other storm, we tend to look for that hook or that hook echo that kind of indicates that there's some rotation happening there. Not seeing it with these storms. It is confirmed. I think this is the first time that this specific cell has been confirmed today. Unlike the one further up to the north in Tama County, that one has touched down multiple times so far today and is currently on the ground or is confirmed. But this one does look a little bit messier as it kind of nears into our area, or this is the Tama storm, I apologize, but now it is looking a lot weaker, as I mentioned before. But regardless, it is going to be a strong thunderstorm. Damaging winds and hail, we know what it can do, so it is a good idea to just be in that safe space as we do see it slowly approach the area. We'll time it out for you here. Still moving pretty steadily. It's been holding kind of steady at that 40 to 45 mile per hour range. So in Newburgh here in just a couple minutes, you should definitely be in your safe space. If you're kind of along Highway 146 here, that's a good idea. If you know someone, call them, tell them to get off the road, pull over to a gas station or another safe space. It kind of tracks into Sheridan, may just be to the north of Sheridan, but regardless, if you hear the sirens and you're in that box, be sure to, of course, get to the lowest level of your home or the most interior room.
And speaking of Sheridan, there's Sheridan, Iowa, that's further to the south and west, just over here. You can actually just see it off the screen.
Okay, yeah.
It's further down to the south and west. But there's been tornado damage there. Sheridan is fine. 1 mile south of town has a row of 15 power poles down. So we have power outages going on with this storm. There's been, that might be down this way. Maybe not. Oh, it's right there. There we go. So that storm that's just heading toward Oskaloosa has now a history of producing a tornado. And there has been, I mean, all of these have had some sort of history, unfortunately. So we are going to have to take each one seriously. This is not one of those. Sometimes, yes, we have those kinds of storms that they're not producing a tornado, but we have had multiple reports with these storms of tornadoes and of damage.
Yeah, and it's important to note too, behind it, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings. So regardless if you're not necessarily in this tornado warned storm or even in the path of these two tornado warned storms, you're going to likely see some thunderstorms, and they have been producing up to, I think, ping pong sized hail, so extremely damaging. We've also seen wind gusts upwards of 60, 65 miles per hour. So it is a good idea to just be getting into your safe space, getting into a shelter if you have to do that now, but this is still the only tornado warned storm that we have, eventually moving into Tama or at least south of Tama. And does that velocity signature still look as strong?
Yeah, we can look at what that is doing here too, because it's certainly, it's certainly come down some. So that's not that tight couplet that we were looking at before. We can actually back it up. So if we go back in time, here's where we certainly know there's definitely a tornado. That's 100% very strong tornado coming into Newton, Kellogg. There was a report of the tornado in Kellogg, and now look at that. That is quite the difference. And so there is more stable air here, but there's still enough that there, maybe it's not as large of a tornado, but it's still certainly concerning enough that there's enough rotation there that it's an issue.
And we look for those bright red and greens, right? And so as mentioned, green means moving away from the radar or towards the radar. Red means moving away. And so when we start to see those overlap, that's how you know the rotation is there. So I wouldn't say it's a terrible signature. There definitely still could be a tornado on the ground there, but it's weakening, which is some good news. So hopefully it won't last too long as it moves into Tama County.
And I'm actually
if it even reaches there at all.
Nathan is just around that area in between Kellogg and Gilman. And said that they were just where that rotation signature would be, and there's no damage.
Okay.
So that would be some good news with that storm, because this has been a nasty tornado. There's still some debris. It's possible that storm still just has some of it caught up in it because it's been doing so much damage lately.
And we did have a pretty strong debris signature with it about an hour ago, so it could just be kind of holding on to that rotation, holding on with some of that. But regardless, you know, take it seriously. If you're in the tornado warning, you need to be getting in a shelter. It is still confirmed at this time, and we've kind of seen with this storm it lifting and then touching back down, kind of the back and forth. So regardless, just play it safe, be in that shelter, and be ready to do that. We'll check on those storms down to the south. As mentioned, if you're coming in now, this is the tornado warning, or the only warning in our area. It is confirmed right now. It's moving into southern Tama County, could pass right over Tama or maybe just to the south of Tama. And then we have those two storms, of course, that are getting a little bit close to our area here as well. We kind of saw this earlier on with that other storm, but these two are far down to our south. When you see it in the red box versus the purple, this means they're radar indicated. So we don't have confirmation that they're on the ground, but we do have indicators that there is some sort of rotation there. But this top one to the top isn't as strong as it used to be.
No.
But yeah, for the most part. But down to the south, this one I think has produced a couple within the past hour or so here. So
that one has had a
one's
history
stronger.
of a tornado, and now Nathan's saying that he is starting to see damage. There has been, so on that northern into Tama County cell, there has been a report in Kellogg, which is just to the south and west there, that there was a tornado and that there was an 18-wheeler overturned. This is coming into Tama County now. Gilman, if we could zoom in even further on that, Sarah. So Highway 146. And then you're talking about Highway 147 or T47 and 390th Street. It's going to cross right over that in southwestern Tama County. If you are in southwestern Tama County, you want to make sure that you are in your safe space, and this includes then into Tama County, into the city of Tama, and just between basically Sheridan and Tama is that area of concern.
Right, and it isn't an if anymore. I'm sure you've seen the tornado reports earlier on in Des Moines. Now it's here. This is the exact same cell that we've been tracking for quite a bit of time. It hasn't lost strength. It actually gained strength a little bit as it moved out of the metro area. Hopefully we'll be losing some of its momentum as we head kind of into our area fully, but right now that is a decent velocity signature.
It is starting to pick back up.
Right.
And so what these storms can do is they can actually do something called cycling. So they can weaken and then strengthen once again. And when that occurs, the tornado can actually lift up. And that's maybe what we were seeing earlier, that it kind of produced around Kellogg. Maybe we got a little bit of a brief break, and where Nathan said that he didn't really see see any damage, but now we're starting to see it pick up just a little bit more. It's still not as strong as it was at its peak when it was producing a large tornado in portions of central Iowa, but now as it's heading to the north and east, it could possibly strengthen once again. So that is something we'll have to watch. And starting to cross into southwestern Tama County, just south of the city of Gilman. And if we put the reflectivity on, Sarah, we can see too, that hail's not quite as strong, and this regular radar signature here is not as pronounced as what was happening before either. So it's definitely showing some signs of weakening, but that's going to be cutting it very close to the city of Tama. That is definitely a concern. In between Tama and Sheridan, from Gilman, from the southwest portion of the county, you need to be in your safe place, lowest level of your home, and want to be away from the windows. You're not going to be able to see this thing anyway. There's no point of trying to look. It is going to be rain wrapped. It's going to be difficult to see, and that would be the area of concern. It's not showing that circle, that bowling ball we were seeing before, where the debris was, but it's still certainly on velocity and per reports, has been producing a tornado.
Right, and I mentioned this to Rebecca earlier, but it was light out when it passed through, the central portion of Iowa. It's now dark, so you're not going to see it regardless. And really, once it gets dark, the only thing we have to rely on is what we're seeing on the radar. Reports go down astronomically. We're not going to have people telling us they see this most likely unless there's a ton of lightning with the storm, which there hasn't been a ton thus far. And really, we just have to go on what we have. So if you are in southern Tama County, it is passing through your area. You may be starting to hear those sirens as it inches into the county, and at this time it is still confirmed. Doesn't look as strong as it did a couple hours ago, and we've kind of been alluding to that with that hook, not really seeing that. The velocity signature a little bit weaker, but still seeing the potential of some rotation. So regardless, just be in your safe space. It goes through 7 p.m. tonight. That's about 30 minutes. Get down in the basement, get into that most interior room, have a way to get messages, whether it's through your phone, your TV, your weather radio, and just stay there for a little bit, because we do know that this storm has been extremely strong and it has produced a ton of damage thus far.
Do we have Nick and Nathan's camera up?
I
Is it
can
possible
pull it up.
that we could look at what they have, because Nathan's saying they might have.
Okay.
Is saying it's frozen.
Yeah.
Okay. They're still continuing that tornado warning for Tama County, and they're still saying confirmed. So as far as we know, we are going to say that's still a tornado on the ground.
So let's time it out again. We know that it's heading northeast at 40 miles per hour right now. Tama, I think you're going to be right on the fringe of this. It could take a little bit more of a northeasterly shift, but regardless, be in that safe space. That's likely one of the more populated areas it will track into. About 6:34, so that gives you about a little less than 10 minutes. So get into that safe space now. Otherwise, Long Point at 6:38, Elberin, I believe, 6:48, and just before 7 p.m. in Keystone. Of course, if it lasts that long and keeps up this momentum, but the cell certainly has done just that over the last couple of hours here. So we need to, be preparing that this is going to track out for the long haul. Again, we do have that tornado watch that does stick with us now for most of eastern Iowa until 11 p.m. Otherwise, let's take a quick look. The velocity's kind of been our best indicator of it being on the ground thus far. As it gets dark, all we really have is that radar signature, and it is weakening. We tend to look for the greens and the reds kind of mixing together. When that does happen, something's kind of got to be in the middle there. Those bright reds, those bright greens, even sometimes we'll see like a bright a white in there, and that'll indicate that we do have a tornado on the ground. This is a lot weaker, so that is some good news. It does still indicate, though, that we have high winds, and although we don't have that strong of a hail core with it, you got to take it seriously. You're in the polygon. Make sure that you're getting into your safe space right now. So if you're just coming on, I know it's kind of inching into our area. Those sirens may be going off. You may be getting some alerts on your phone. I'll kind of give you a refresher of what we're doing here. So take a look. We do have this line of thunderstorms pushing into eastern Iowa pretty slowly here. One warning in effect. Unfortunately, it is a tornado warning right now. It is for just Tama County and Pea-Sized, of course, but a little bit out of our area there. It is still confirmed on the ground. The Weather Service did verify that. They're not really letting that go right now, despite a little bit of weakening happening with this storm. So we're going to take it as it's on the ground. It's dark outside. We're going to act like this storm is moving in. It is headed into Tama County, could affect the city of Tama. Shortly thereafter, could move into the Belle Plaine, Keystone area. If you're along Highway 30, that is a big concern as well. So it is going to likely track over that. So if you know someone traveling on Highway 30, or you yourself are listening to this on our, somewhere on our Facebook or our app, make sure you're pulling off and getting into that safe space, because of course in a car is one of the worst places you can be with these strong winds and that tornado. We'll take a quick look at these storms further down to the south. These don't look as strong, I don't think.
And there has been a history, at least with the southern cell, of producing a tornado. Those look like they're getting kind of sheared out. So it looks like they're kind of just kind of spreading apart a little bit more and not able to keep that tight circulation still happening.
For sure. And these two, if you're coming in now and you don't know, when they're in red, it's just a radar indicated tornado warning. And when it's in that pink or purpley color, it means it's confirmed that we've had confirmation that a tornado is or was or currently on the ground. I think we have a picture of Nathan's damage on Weather Scandu. Not sure if we can take that up. This is from earlier on the day. This is from that Tama cell that produced.
Yeah, produce the tornadoes in central Iowa. Can you get the Scandu scene on Max 1? I can't get it on Max 2. But we do have this tornadic storm now in southwestern Tama County, and it's more so on the northern side of this warning too. So Yeah, you can go ahead, Karsh. We do have a video of a tornado. I'm not sure which one. This might be the southern cell in Lucas County. That would be the one coming into Keokuk County, but that has since lifted. But you can see these large tornadoes that have been produced today, and these have been causing a lot of damage. Yeah, that was in Lucas County. So that's the one further to the south that came through Sheridan, and now they're still saying that one's not confirmed anymore.
Yeah.
But you can just see that is from the Tama County cell that's starting to move into Tama County earlier in Winterset, Iowa. And this has been producing a lot of damage, unfortunately. If we can go to Max 1, you can see the damage that Nathan has been seeing on his way back from that cell.
Right, so a lot of damage. We've seen, I've seen roofs off of houses thus far. We've seen power lines down, trees down. You can see that's just a road. Of course, there's debris everywhere. So, you know, this tornado cell has really indicated that it is going to cause damage. And as it does move into eastern Iowa, it still is doing just that. So I'll give you a quick look at our radar here. We'll pull it up. Still only tracking the one. We do have these two tornadic cells far down to our south, and these very well could move into Keokuk County here shortly. This warning does go until 6:45 p.m., so they got about 15 minutes to decide if they're going to extend it or let it go. And they did let the northern one go, which isn't shocking given that it wasn't having a strong rotation signature. So we're down to 2 tornado warnings, one of which is in our area. This one, not quite, but certainly could track into it. So let's check on that velocity signature here. This one's a little bit in between radar, so it is a little bit tough to kind of see that, but you can kind of see some of those bright reds and greens. Yeah, and that kind of indicates that we're seeing that. So I'd say this one is still pretty strong. Wouldn't be shocked if that one moves into our area or gets extended. And of course, here's that Tama one. So it's kind of done this thing where it strengthens and weakens back and forth. So, you know, we're watching it closely, but it is really close to Tama. So if you're listening to this and you're in Tama or southern Tama County, anywhere along Highway 63, Highway 30, get off the roads and into your safe space. Lowest level of your home, most interior room. You can grab things to drape over you in case there is debris. Take it seriously because it has caused damage thus far. I'm hearing that. I think we have the road warrior.
Yeah, Nick and Nathan are out, and there's probably going to be some difficulty with some of the service there, but you can see the lightning strikes. It's very dark now, and I don't know if we can talk to Nick at all. If you can hear me, Nick, you can go ahead and if we can get his audio and he can kind of let us know what he's seeing. You can see the structure of that storm, Nick. What have you guys been seeing so far?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we've been tracking the storm. Meteorologist Nathan Sancho Domingo and I, we've been following this storm now for the better part of, 3 hours. We have crossed its damage path probably a dozen times as we keep trying to stair-step and follow it now into Tama County. All right, looking at the structure of the storm, you can see there's very definitively still a wall cloud with the storm. What we call the RFD, the rear flank downdraft, is wrapping around that mesocyclone. So there's one vivid rotation with the storm. It's a little bit harder to see now that we're losing the night or the light. However, it's actually a bit helping us because the lightning makes it a bit easier because it kind of illuminates the inside of the storm a little bit more. What you are watching is that mesocyclone moving through southern Tama County. We did cross into Tama County, and we have had multiple reports of damage as early as
the rotation right now is moving into Tama.
Yeah, so the rotation is moving into Tama right now, and we're right on it right now. It's it's very difficult.
Oh, I know they're having some difficulty with the cell service. You can go back to Max 1 there, but yeah, they have been seeing just a lot of damage with this storm. And Sarah, we can just kind of track this thing because this is going to be the area of concern now as the storm moves close to a populated area.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it is sped up a little bit, or it moves quicker than you think it will, right? It's just about to head into that Tama area. We've been talking about this rotation here. I would say it's not as strong as it was, but it's still confirmed on the ground. And the National Weather Service did just back that a couple minutes ago. So you need to take it as that. It is right here. This would be where the tornado is, where you kind of see the mixing of the two. It is tracking towards Highway 63 and eventually will likely cross Highway 30, a major highway in our area. So I've been saying this for a while. If you know someone someone on those roads or traveling, this is a great time to call them and tell them to get on off. If you are in Tama, I think it'll pass, it'll miss Highway 30 a little bit further to the north where that warning cuts off a little bit. But if you are in Tama, this is a good time to get into your safe space if you're not already in it. It will be here in just moments if it's not already picking up winds out there, and we could potentially be seeing it move into the city.
And remember, these radar scans are a little bit behind too. So this could, and because of how fast it's moving, we could possibly be seeing, you know, this is a little bit ahead of schedule, probably closer to Highway 63.
Yeah, right around here if it catches up there in a little bit. But for sure, definitely going to cross over to Highway 63 if it hasn't already, and eventually Highway 30, I would assume. This warning does go until 7 p.m. for reference. So if you're hearing the sirens, you likely will be for a little bit more time, and you're going to continue to hear them likely until it's completely out of the area. Next up, if this storm does continue to keep its momentum, which hopefully here shortly, sun's going down, it's moving into a less favorable area. There's a little bit less shear as it kind of pushes in, which kind of indicates that it can have that rotation. If it does continue to track this way, though, next up would be along Highway 30, Chelsea, potentially Elberon if we get Belle Plaine, but you're still a little bit further off.
Can we take the live view with Nick and Nathan? Nathan's saying they have a visual on a tornado, if at all possible. I know they're having some struggle with cell service, but now we're getting confirmation there is a tornado. This would be Long Point, Vining, Elberon next. So now we have confirmation again that this storm is producing a tornado. Just southwest of the city of Tama is what Nathan is saying right now. So if you are in or near the city of Tama, you need to be in your safe space. And even though this does not look quite as large or as just aggressive on the radar as what it was earlier, we do have confirmation now. Can you tell the National Weather Service that?
Yep.
Please. So now we have southwest of Tama. There is a tornado on the ground confirmed. And Nick, if we could get a push alert for that too, that would be great. But we have heard of barns and homes being damaged or destroyed. This storm has a history of producing large tornadoes, and we now have confirmation again that it is producing. So this is going through kind of a cycling phase here where it may weaken a little bit and then pick back up, and then it's dropping tornadoes down very quickly. This is going to be something that is going to be unpredictable, unfortunately, if it's going up and down. But regardless, this is not something to take lightly. Down in your safe space, lowest level of your home, away from the windows, and you want to make sure that you're staying there until this passes by, because there's still going to be some strong winds. Regardless if you're not where the circulation is, strong winds and large hail also going to be possible with this storm. And Highway 63, that means that Tama, unfortunately, is in the crosshairs of this. This could be moving into the city of Tama. If you're in Tama, you need to be taking cover now. Immediately. Still a confirmed tornado. As far as we know, it is dark. It is probably rain wrapped. It is difficult to see. So unfortunately, this is not something to be messing around with at all. You do need to be taking your tornado precautions right now, and that then includes areas past Tama. So Long Point, along Highway 30, if you live near Highway 30, north or south of Highway 30 in Tama County, you need to be in your safe space.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, we're kind of right on that line of that tornado warning to the north. It could even kind of get out of that box, or the next warning, if they do extend it, could be a little bit further to the north. So it's not a terrible idea if you're north of Highway 30, even further north, kind of, you know, in that area, to be getting into that safe space, because it kind of does look like it's curving a little bit more further to the northeast than it was originally when it was issued. Yeah,
so we're getting now reports of on Highway 63 at the Tama County line, power flashes with that that tornado, visible tornado on the ground. There is a tornado on the ground near the city of Tama. If you live anywhere near the city of Tama or near Highway 30 in Tama County, you need to be in your safe space. Bottom level of your home, away from the windows, as interior as you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we did mention as it gets dark, we're going to start getting less of those damage reports. And so really all we have to go on is the ones that we've had, you know, right before the sunset, which of course was power outages, was roofs off homes, down trees. It is producing damage. I think we just said we had, do we have the road warrior? Okay, perfect. Let's pull that up. So you're not going to see much until those lightning flashes come in, and that's how we know it's on the ground. Nathan said they both saw it. So if we just kind of hold on
And now we've
here.
had another law enforcement report too of that tornado. So we've had now multiple reports of that, and it may be, you know, they're having some difficulty with cell service. So hopefully we can get some images from them. But this has been a long track supercell producing tornadoes multiple times across the state of Iowa. There's power lines down near Newburgh, which is just southwest of this area on T38 and F17. Unfortunately, this tornado has been this storm has been intense, and it has been ongoing for about 100 miles now, since around the area of Winterset, Iowa, where it has produced a lot of damage, unfortunately, and it has now continued to go to the east.
Getting a lot of reports of power flashes near Highway 63 and 370th Street, which isn't. Where we were seeing that rotation earlier, so that does completely make sense. There is some rotation down to the south. We'll get to that storm, not quite in our area, but there is another tornado warning that we're watching across Iowa. Otherwise, with this storm, the sun is down. We're moving into a more unfavorable area. Hopefully, we'll start to see a little bit of weakening, but timing it out for you again, if you are in Tama County, the southern half of Tama County specifically, this is the time to get in your safe space. You're probably hearing the sirens, and it's legit. Get into the lowest level of your home or the most interior room. Afterwards, it will continue to track further into Vinton County, or at least northwest Vinton County, and so it's a good idea to be considering and keeping a close eye on things as well, because if it continues to hold the strength, which it's had for quite a bit of time, it will of course impact that area. So let's kind of do a refresh here. We'll start off.
We do now have so we have that storm. We have now a tornado warning for Keokuk County.
Okay.
It looks like it's probably going to come. It might come in here shortly.
Okay. Yeah, either way, it's gonna be right there. So, you know, you can.
I think they're counting it because it's right on the edge.
Yeah, we've been having a little bit of weirdness with that lately as well. But that's the other storm that we are closely watching. I don't think this one is as strong. We haven't had confirmation of this one, but that could also just be because it's dark and we have less chasers on it and less storm spotters on it.
And that one had produced earlier back to the south and west.
Yeah, pretty much both of them have produced multiple times, and this radar signature is a pretty decent one here. Again, when you see the red and the greens blending together and kind of looking like they're going the wrong directions, that indicates some rotation. This warning goes until, this one here goes till 7:15, so about 35 minutes left on this one. Both are moving northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Let me double check that. Yep, both moving at 45 miles per hour, so pretty steadily trucking along here. I don't want to discount this Tama storm because this velocity signature just keeps weakening and then re-strengthening, and we really just had passed over Tama right there, so hopefully not getting a ton of damage from there. Fingers crossed that maybe it wasn't on the ground, or it wasn't as strong as we originally thought it was. But
yeah, there's been still reports of tornadoes just near the Tama area, so and northeast now Tama, so that's probably still happening. This is kind of one of those, unfortunately, spots where we're caught in between some of the radars.
Yep.
So it may be difficult to see that rotation quite as well as when we were closer to the Des Moines radar, but we're still getting reports.
Yeah, and we're also getting some indication, strong rotation of the Ottumwa Airport. That's the one further down to the south. No confirmation just yet on that one if you're coming in now. But this tornado warned cell, which was a tornado on the ground just moments ago, did just pass over the Tama area. So hopefully not getting a ton of damage there. We'll kind of evaluate that as those come in here shortly, or potentially even tomorrow when the sun comes up. But now it is tracking further off to our northeast. This does go till 7 p.m. So we got about 17 minutes left if it doesn't get extended, which it very well could because it's kind of holding on to its strength there. But about to pass over Highway 30. There's a look from our road warrior there as well. It's going to be tough to see. You'll see those lightning flashes and those power surges, and that'll kind of give us the indication that a tornado is on the ground, but we're kind of in some spotty cell service going on now. So you can keep an eye on that as we have that radar up for you on the right side of your screen there.
If Nick's at all able to talk back to us, Nick, you can just tell us what you guys have been seeing so far.
Hey, Rebecca. Right now we are in the city of Tama. The power is out in town. From our observation, we do believe the tornado passed just south of Tama. We passed through the debris path probably about a mile south of Tama. I cannot say for certain if eastern portions of Tama avoided the damage. However, power is out in Tama. We did pass through the damage path about a mile south of the Iowa River on US 63. We had multiple power flashes. We had a big cone tornado visible to our eye. Right now, we're going to be hopping and chasing the storm eastward. Again, you can see power is out in at least portions of Tama. We did see a damage path south of Tama, a continuation of the storm that's been going on now for the better part of 3 hours, Rebecca.
Thank you, Nick. And, please be safe out there. There's been, these storms have been not just producing the damage with the homes and such, but also been bringing down power lines. So after these storms come through, law enforcement, those rescue crews are going to go out and do the work that they need to do to start making those repairs and making sure that everyone is okay. And going out, especially at night, is dangerous. Nick and Nathan are very aware of the road networks and what they need to do to stay safely away from this storm and also avoid any of that damage as well. So there's also a handful of storm chasers that are out there today, and we just want to make sure that we're not adding to any of the chaos that's already ongoing, as there have been multiple tornadoes just with this one storm alone across the state today.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's some good news. I see them driving. Doesn't look like there's a ton of debris on the road, so it is improvement from what we saw earlier. However, they did say they thought it passed just to the south of Tama, and that does kind of add up. As we were just speaking there, it should have crossed over Highway 30 if it was, of course, still on the ground at that point. Right now, a little bit north of Highway 30. We'll take a look at that velocity signature. That's kind of what we've been indicating, and Rebecca, it's pretty strong. It's not necessarily weakening. It's not perfect. It's not what it was earlier, but definitely still showing the indication of rotation moving in. This warning does go until 7 p.m. So we're kind of coming up on the end of it here, but I do suspect it'll get extended. And it's also pushed a little bit further north too. So we could be looking at northern Tama County, into Vinton County as we kind of track that way. I do want to take a look. The storm in the bottom?
No, we can. I was going to say the National Weather Service is still saying this is confirmed still with Tama. So I don't. If you want to, we can just get in on street level here, Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah. So right, it's going to pass Highway East 43 eventually. Do you agree that it's moving more towards the north than it originally was? It's
definitely taking this northeasterly path here. So the south side of this warning, you definitely are not totally out in the clear, but really it's north of Highway 30
for sure,
where the issue is.
And Highway 30, you're not in the clear. I wouldn't say don't head out now. We're still seeing a line of strong thunderstorms behind this system, and we do have that tornado warning storm down to our south, but this is the main one that we are focused because we know it has been on the ground. If it isn't still already, it's just going to be challenging to see as that sun sets. But about to head, I would say, a little bit further to the northeast. It might break out of this. I wouldn't be surprised if they extended a little bit of a box further off to the north there. But otherwise, over Highway East 43 right here, 295th Street as well. Highway 18 is that, I believe?
Looks like
potentially
Highway
V18, eventually Highway East 36. So a lot of these smaller roads, no major highways, which is good. Highway 30 was really the main one that it was tracking over, which it should be pretty much in the clear from that as for now at least. But it'll continue to move this way. And we talked a little bit about that hail threat. We tend to look for these hail cores or the pinks and the purples. Hail hasn't really been a huge issue with this storm, and I know Nick and Nathan didn't mention a ton about that, so not sure if it's still producing that right now. But of course, we're kind of nearing the end of this warning, so it's not going to be out of the question if you see North Tama County included. Eventually, Highway 21 right on the fringe of that, tracking into Vinton County, I believe. This is Vinton County?
Yes, correct.
County lines. And, we could be talking about Keystone. We could be talking about Highway 218, Dysart, potentially, if it continues to track that way.
Yeah, it would be, so Elberon here and Coultier.
Yeah, I think so. Cloutier?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that name, but Cloutier. There we go.
Thank you.
I was going to get there eventually. In between those two towns, that is where we're talking about
right here.
The tornado threat heading towards Highway 21, likely south of Dysart, I'd say.
Yeah.
But if this continues, then we could be talking about Vinton, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course.
And we don't want that. So we don't want any of it. We would like it to stop. So
we'd like it to end right now. It's been going on long enough.
No, this storm has just had a history of violent tornadoes, unfortunately, and the National Weather Service is still saying, Sarah, that there is a confirmed tornado with this storm.
Yeah.
And so we have to continue to take these tornado precautions. And there goes the new warning.
So this one now goes into Vinton County as we expected. As mentioned, a little bit further to the north. It's kind of taken that curve to the northeast. This one now includes Vinton, Van Horn. I do think it'll be north of Van Horn, but we'll keep a close eye on that. Definitely going to impact Highway 218, 711 in Garrison, Vinton 719. So you've got about 30 minutes to get into that safe space and be prepared, because this tornado has been on the ground so many times today. It may be lifting briefly, which is maybe why we also maybe can't see it because it's dark out there and we're waiting for those lightning flashes. Shellsburg eventually 726. So it is still trucking along. It does have a good signature. The velocity isn't necessarily going away. And of course, we do have Nick and Nathan out there that are indicating that it was on the ground. It's tough here. We're kind of in between radars, and so it's not going to be as crystal clear as it was when it was just south of that Des Moines radar, but still would say that we're seeing some level of rotation here, and we'll probably get a little bit of a clearer picture as it kind of nears the radar in the Quad Cities. But you know, for Tama County now, Tama, you're in the clear, but you're going to see a line of thunderstorms behind it. So if you did experience that tornado and there's damage, now's not the time to go outside, because you're still going to see some lightning and some damaging winds pass through shortly thereafter. Otherwise, you know, this one continues to track into Benton County, and that'll last till about, I think, 7:30 p.m. here. So if you're along Highway 21, it's coming for you. If you know someone on there, make sure they're getting off the road now. They got about maybe 5-10 minutes before it crosses over, eventually tracking into Garrison, potentially as far north as Highway 218 into Benton County. I think Keystone and Van Horn are going to miss out on it. You'll likely still maybe hear sirens or, you know, feel those damaging winds on your home, but the actual tornado, if it's still on the ground, I do think will pass a little bit further to our north. Do we still have that storm further down to the south, or?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We have the tornado warning. Yeah, so there shows the extension into Keokuk County. And so this storm has had a history of producing tornadoes as well, but it has not been confirmed as of late, but that also could be difficult based on the fact that it's so dark outside.
Right, and I also think too, you know, it's more rural areas. People weren't tracking this one as the one that was in the Des Moines metro, which is the Tama storm. So we may not have a ton of spotters on this storm at this point. Of course, it's dark. We're relying on lightning to kind of see the structure of it, if that is even a factor. But regardless, it does track into Keokuk County. It does last until about 7:15 p.m. Some good news. I would say that these storms are awakening from what they were earlier, but they're still confirmed, especially that one in Tama County. So definitely make sure you're getting into your safe space and just taking it seriously, at least for the next hour or so here. Any other reports that we've seen coming in? Or?
We really haven't heard much recently. The National Weather Service is still saying that's a confirmed tornado up to the north here. Nathan is saying barn damage northeast side of Tama. And we, of course, have this storm now. I think they just needed to adjust this whole polygon. But we have the rotation north of Highway 30, northeast of Tama, northwest of Elberon, and just about to kind of cross into the Benton County area. This is where the tornado would be just west of Highway 21. Nathan is saying they still have a wall cloud. So what a wall cloud is a lowering. It's kind of like step one would be thunderstorm. Step 2 is a wall cloud, lowering of the cloud. Step 3 is a funnel. Step 4 is the tornado on the ground. And so that funnel cloud getting down to the ground. So they're saying they cannot confirm it visually at the moment. We have had damage though, and we continue to see this now just continue into Benton County, or getting close to it now. The rotation is looking weaker than what it was earlier. So Nick, if you can talk to me at all, this definitely looks like it's losing some of its structure now.
Hey, sorry. We are trying to communicate right now. We do believe we may potentially have a tornado once again. It's very difficult to make out. Lightning is making it very difficult to see. Just to the left of the road, there is a definite wall cloud. Every lightning flash, it just looks more and more intimidating. It's very difficult to make out if there's a tornado. If you have traveled Highway 30 east of Tama, it's pretty hilly. It makes it very difficult. On top of it, it's nighttime. There's definitely something happening with this storm. It's still way too early to give an all clear for the storm. We did go through the vast majority of Tama. There didn't appear to be a lot of damage in town. Power was out. However, on the far eastern side of town, I believe it's an Iowa DOT facility, one of the doors on like the big barns appears to have been blown in. So that's the damage we saw around Tama. And again, right now we are watching a very interesting lowering just to the left of the roadway. This is just north of Highway 30, getting pretty close to the Vinton and Tama County line.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And so, I mean, we've been talking about there's definitely a radar issue out that way, unfortunately. So it's difficult to really know. It certainly doesn't look like as much of a tight rotation as what we had earlier, but this storm has had a history too of cycling where it looks like maybe the tornado is lifted up and then it reproduces once again as that circulation tightens up. So we can't give the all clear, absolutely. I think the rotation too is starting to get a little bit out of the box there, unfortunately.
Definitely has taken a northerly shift pretty rapidly there, I would say. As kind of mentioned, the second warning kind of has it in there, but currently it is moving north in Tama County. So again, you may be hearing the sirens there or eventually, hearing the winds.
Cloutier and Cloutier, there we go, and Dysart, probably, it's a close call with Dysart. I don't know if it's going to go that far north, but crossing into Highway 21, if you live around Highway 21 on either side of that Vinton and Tama County line, that is where we have the cause for concern for a tornado because we have continued to see, unfortunately, this storm produce one and produce damage. It just not too far away, northeast side of Tama, city of Tama, we have damage that has been confirmed with this storm. And we do now have as well this, just several storms ongoing. So I'm going to go back to the reflectivity mode. Sarah, if you want to recap the storms ongoing here.
Sure.
Because we now have a severe thunderstorm warning that includes Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, so we did have a severe thunderstorm warning earlier, kind of broke up a little bit and lost its momentum. Now another one has been issued, and this one includes Linn County and Cedar Rapids. So let's take a closer look at this one. Still moving, I believe, northeast at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. That's kind of the theme of these storms here. It could be a little bit of time before it gets here in Cedar Rapids, but just on our sky cam, I was starting to see the lightning coming from our southwest portion. So it is moving in. You can see all those little white dots there are lightning strikes. So it is producing a lot of lightning. So regardless, you shouldn't be outside. But timing it out for you, 7:07 in Walford, the airport about 7:15, 7:29 in Marion, 7:25 in Cedar Rapids, and then Springville, if it still holds that momentum until about 7:40, will be right there. This warning does go until 7:30 p.m. tonight. Does include Vinton, Iowa, Johnson, and Linn counties there. So not necessarily a tornado warning, but still a strong thunderstorm. I don't see that it's producing winds high enough that those sirens will go off, but still a very dangerous line of thunderstorms. We've seen it produce hail, of course, winds, and now we're seeing that lightning there. If you're just coming in now, I know this tornado warning is kind of trucking along here. I'll reset and give you a look at our entire area. It is loading. There we go. So we do have 2 tornado warned storms. Now it is not confirmed, so some improvement there. This is the tornado warning moving into Vinton County. This one has produced a tornado just a couple minutes ago and much earlier on in the day. This one goes until 7:30 tonight. It is potentially producing hail, but I haven't seen that be the major threat right now.
Looks like that's kind of backed off.
Yeah, not seeing, we tend to look for those pinks kind of popping up in the storm here, and we're not seeing a ton of that. So really I would focus on the wind and of course the tornado threat. Further down to the south, we have Keokuk County. This tornado warning has moved into there. It is dark outside now. We're not getting a ton of reports in. So really all we have to do, or all we have to look at, is our radar. And with our radar, we oftentimes look at velocity. We're kind of in a weird place in between radars here, so it's not going to be the best necessarily signature, but we look for those greens and reds starting to mix together, which this one kind of holds on to it. I wouldn't say it's super strong, but definitely indicating that some rotation could be there. So we'll kind of
around Hendrick and moving into southwestern Keokuk and County, and this would be moving to the north and east as well. And I do want to say, we're not seeing that confirmed marker now on this storm or the one to the north. However, they have had, both of these storms have had a history. It's also going to be difficult because it's raining, because it's dark outside. we don't know. And so if they don't have visual confirmation, the Weather Service isn't going to go that way unless we have a really, really strong radar signature. This still to say that you don't want to, you know, say, okay, well, it's not that purple anymore. It's still going to be one of those dangerous storms. It has a history producing tornadoes. We've had damage. It has been a long day of watching these storms, unfortunately, come into our area now. And we should be seeing it kind of get into a more stable atmosphere a little bit further to the east. However, we need to keep our guard up. So if you're in these counties, if you're hearing the sirens go off, even if we don't say confirmed anymore, we could still be seeing tornadoes quickly develop. They have spun up very quickly. And so you want to make sure that you're in the lowest level of your home, in that safe space, away from the windows as these storms continue to come on through.
And it's important to note too that even if for some reason it's not producing a tornado or it's not on the ground, we have strong wind signatures, and we all know what wind can do in eastern Iowa. And so definitely be getting into that safe space, or at the bare minimum, make sure that you're in a stable shelter.
And Tama's being let go out of that warning.
Okay, so this pink box right here, that's going to be let go here shortly once our system kind of updates with that. So we're down to the one in Vinton County until 7:30 p.m. There it goes right there. You can kind of see right here where the reds and the greens meet. That's the rotation. That's indicating that there could be a tornado on the ground. We don't have confirmation of it, but if it's there, it's going to be right over Highway 21 moving into Vinton County. It's in between, I would say, Keystone and Vinton right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of takes that northeasterly shift and eventually makes its way into Vinton. We saw it pass through South Tama earlier. It did leave some damage, a lot of power outages there as well. We're waiting for those to kind of come in as well, but we did have confirmation of that from Nathan and Nick there earlier today. We do have this severe thunderstorm warning. I don't want to completely discount this. It's just obviously not as much of a threat as that tornado that could be on the ground. This one, though, does affect some of our more populated areas, including Vinton, Iowa, Johnson, and Linn counties. This does include Cedar Rapids. It will be here in about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less once we get our next radar scan, but luckily with this storm, not seeing any rotation, not even seeing a huge hail core. The main threat is going to be those winds. You can see the wind speed at about 60 miles per hour. So we'll keep a close eye on that as it kind of nears Cedar Rapids. And then we have this tornado warning far down to our south in southern Keokuk. It will eventually maybe track into Washington County. We'll see if it kind of holds on there. The radar signature, it's getting a little bit messier here, but definitely could be still seeing some rotation. I do want to put on something we call our correlation coefficient to show you some improvement that we've seen. This is what we look for when we see debris. So when we start to see those blues, that indicates that there's being debris lofted in the air from this tornado. This cell hasn't done much of that recently. The one further up that did pass through Tama County was doing a little bit of that, but we're not seeing it now either. So
yeah, I was going to say that's definitely a nice sign there.
Yeah.
Once again, when the further away you are from the radar, if anything's happening lower down close to the ground, it might be hard to pick that up, but it's certainly not a strong indicator.
No.
Nathan's saying they're just seeing a wall cloud. So as I mentioned, that's like step 2. So that means that we are still some steps away from having a tornado, but that's indicating there's still some intense rotation going on with that storm in Tama County. So you want to make sure that you're still taking those precautions toward the city of Vinton. If you live in Vinton County and you're near Vinton down to the south and west, you want to make sure that you are in your safe place. I do want to go to the weather scan, if that's possible, and show you some of the damage that has been occurring earlier today. So this is from Winterset, and this is drone footage from the of the damage that happened around the Winterset area. This is the same cell, the same storm that is moving into Vinton County right now. So you can see some of the barn damage it looks like there, and some of the debris just kind of scattered about, some of the trees that have now been damaged heavily. There's a house maybe that several homes. That's just it was a large wedge tornado that was on the ground for a long time there, and this is terrible to see.
Yeah,
it's
no,
terrible.
Absolutely. Our CBS affiliate KCCI did post that several homes had lost their roofs through this storm. Of course, it's going to be kind of hard to get some of those damage reports now that we've moved, into the evening hours. But we'll head on back to Max 1 and show you kind of the tornado warning that we're tracking. That's from the same exact cell. Some good news, it has weakened, and it looks like it's kind of breaking up a little bit as the sun went down, moving into a less favorable area. So hopefully we won't have to be talking about this for too much, but right now it goes until 7:30 p.m. tonight. Want to talk about some of the cities that would be up next if it were to touch down. Nathan is saying that it is just a wall cloud at this point. So as Rebecca mentioned, a couple steps away from being a tornado on the ground, but do kind of want to show you where it would move. It looks like it's taken a little bit more of a northeasterly track. Garrison here in just a couple of minutes. Vinton eventually about 7:20. I would expect it to be there. And then if it continues to hold its momentum, we'll talk about center point. But Newhall, Shellsburg, I think you're mostly in the clear as far as the tornado threat. I would say right now it'll pass to your north if it does hold on momentum there. But you know, if you're hearing the sirens and you're in that tornado warning, get into that safe space. As a reminder, that's the lowest level of your home or the most interior room. So that's tornado warning number 1. If you're just coming on now, I'll show you kind of what we got going on across eastern Iowa. We do have this severe thunderstorm warning. That does include Cedar Rapids. You might have gotten that on your phone. Just a severe thunderstorm warning. But the main threat with that is going to be those winds, and we're seeing a good amount of lightning as well. So all those little white dots that you see there is lightning strikes. So you may be seeing that in the distance. It'll be in Cedar Rapids in about 5 to 10 minutes here.
This is also, these have been some efficient rain producers today too. So we have these, I mean, obviously it's still frozen ground. So that water is gonna be possibly pooling up places. But you can see, I mean, you can see that unfortunately the track of that tornadic storm and the very heavy rain, but also some insanely large hail that was produced earlier today as well. I can see if I can get that on WeatherScan because had a friend who was out there. This was in Orient, and this was on the north side of that tornadic storm. If we can go to, there you go.
Wow.
And his windshield as a result.
Oh no.
So that's been some very large hail that was produced earlier from that same storm that's now in Benton County. Luckily, we have seen that weaken, and that's likely just due to now this the storms just kind of sometimes they can wear themselves out. They're not going to live forever, because that would be an issue if they did. But they have had a history of producing these large tornadoes as well as large hail, and we cannot let our guard down still. Even though it is weakening, we can still see that possibly cycling happen, and there's probably still at least some very heavy rain and maybe some small hail ongoing there, and that's just starting to approach around Highway 218 near Vinton.
Yeah, and the hail threat I would say has strongly diminished, especially from what it was earlier. So good news there. Still looking at damaging winds and of course the potential for a tornado to touch down. This cell right here we've been indicated is just that wall cloud. That's what Nathan and Nick are kind of following. So it's not necessarily on the ground, but we've seen it touch down so many times that, did that just get moved to the north? I think it did. I think that changed
Looks
a little
like
bit.
it did.
Yes, it got cut in half almost. So it is taking that northerly trend now pretty much head on into Vinton. So it will be at Vinton in just a few moments here. Let's time it out for you if it goes a little bit further. Vinton, 7:20 p.m. Looks like it may be moving a little bit faster than that, so just be prepared for a few minutes before that. Garrison here in about 5 minutes if it continues onto Urbana, and Center Point just after 7:30 p.m. tonight. Do we have Nick and Nathan potentially to give us an update? I'm not sure if their services.
I know that they were saying they were dropping down to the south toward Highway 30.
Okay.
And if they can talk back to us at all, I know that they're busy probably trying to assess everything that's going on. But Nick, can you tell us what you've been seeing with the storm, with the trends as of the last probably like 5 minutes?
Yes, right now I can tell you that the storm is definitely in a weakening state. You guys keep mentioning kind of that northern shift in its movement. Basically, that allows it to not be able to tap into that low-level wind shear as much as it could if it was heading more easterly. So the storm is definitely in a weakening state. We decided to drop off the storm. The wall cloud is really falling apart. Still a wall cloud visible at last check, but it really has lost its strength. And so we are now dropping back down south. We're going to head on to the storms that are threatening our southern counties once again, including Keokuk, Washington, Johnson counties. We're heading down that way to kind of keep an eye on those storms. The storm obviously still tornado warning, so obviously still a concern up that way, up towards Benton County. But we're going to divert down south as those storms probably have the best chance of potentially producing tornadoes. The other thing to note is the cold front is quickly advancing here in eastern Iowa. So this storm that is in Vinton County is now getting very, very close to that cold front, which then will also limit the tornado potential. So we're going to keep an eye on things going forward, and we're going to head down south and keep an eye on the storm threatening our southern counties.
Yeah, and we did mention that cold front is, once it catches up, these storms are going to die off. They don't want the cold air. They want the warm, moist air. And so really quick, I'll try to show you our temperatures. I had this set up for earlier, so it's pushed far off to our far. Oh, you fixed it. Perfect. It is, yes, a little bit further off. You can start to see that colder air coming in right near Des Moines. So once it catches up, which it's moving pretty quickly, that's a cold front. These storms will also die down, but also it's just a less favorable environment. So hopefully we're not talking to you too much longer here, and they do eventually get expired.
And what Nick was talking about too is that it's getting off of the boundary there, so it's not in that. What was happening in Winterset was the storms were still on that boundary. We had all that spin, and it was close to that area of low pressure. That's what's really been driving everything today. We have this low pressure system that is leading to all of this spin in the atmosphere, along with that cold front. That is where we've had that concern for today of the strong thunderstorms and the spinning storms that have obviously already produced tornadoes, but now it's getting out of that highly unstable atmosphere and into a zone where not only is it away from the boundary, but it's also away from, or it's getting into a spot where we've had multiple rounds of storms that have come through today. So the atmosphere is more stable in these areas. And so it's really losing its structure in terms of what you look for in the storm, where you have kind of this hook wrapping around. But there's still, of course, some rotation going on. There's going to be some gusty winds, some heavy rain, and that is north of Van Horn, near the Vinton area, and it's still continuing to move to the north. So this is getting close to Highway 218, still some of that rotation just southwest of the Vinton area. And so we'll be watching toward Vinton. You still want to be in your safe space. This warning goes until 7:30. So that's 20 more minutes. Maybe they get enough confidence to release it a little earlier, but you still want to make sure that you are staying in that lowest level until we're able to give the all clear with this, because this is still this storm's just had that history of unfortunately producing tornadoes.
And we've seen that northerly trend so much. Like, it keeps nearing kind of the top of that warning box or the top of the polygon, and it is trending northward. So if you are a little bit outside of the warning, maybe you're seeing it on your phone, you're seeing it on TV, wherever, it's a good idea to be prepared to get into the basement or the safe space in your home, because it has been tracking that way. And we've been seeing those warnings progressively start to move a little bit more to the north. So if we do get an extension of this warning, I wouldn't be surprised if it was for the northern portion of Benton County as well as further east. So we're keeping a close eye on it. It still does have a little bit of a velocity signature when you see those reds and greens mixing together. The one further down to the south, still just radar indicated. I don't think we've ever had it confirmed in our area. You know, we're seeing a little bit of a velocity signature with this one as well, but I wouldn't say it's as strong as it could be.
No, and that storm has had a history of producing as well, but it is certainly not as organized. But Hayesville, Lancaster, Highway 149, that rotation's probably passing right over there. No indication or confirmation that there is a tornado, but it could once again happen at any time with this storm. But they certainly are starting to lose some steam, which is good news. This one also going until 7:30, so toward Lancaster and Telluride, where that city went away.
Yeah.
Keota's included in this as well, just south of the city of Sigourney, but Sigourney could be getting into some gusty winds. But that one's really lost a lot of its organization, and not seeing that those tight reds and greens come together, as Sarah's been talking about this evening. So that's certainly a good sign.
Yeah, and this one may get expired, but still may potentially be a severe thunderstorm warning, because we do see that the potential for some strong winds. So it still may meet that criteria. It's not going to completely be just a casual rainstorm by any means, but for now we are kind of left with these two tornado warnings. I know you're probably seeing it jump back and forth. Right now you can kind of see the reds and the greens. If I push it this way, it's all green. That's because we're directly in between those radars, so it's kind of fighting for which zone it's in, and unfortunately that can kind of limit what we can see as far as the rotation, as well as that overall radar signature. So here's a quick look at what we're dealing with across eastern Iowa. We've been on for just over an hour now. We've seen these storms slowly but surely push push across our area. 2 tornado warnings. The first one now out of Tama County, so you're in the clear there, just dealing likely with some thunderstorms. Benton County until about 7:30 p.m. It is right about to move into Vinton right now. So
and Sarah, let's I did want to mention that Doug Wagner just let me know we are also occasionally going to be live on News Radio 600 WMT. If you have to go down to the basement or something and you can't see the TV or hear us as well, you can turn the radio on and you can hear that too. You can also tune in. I believe we've gotten up on Facebook, so you can go to our Facebook page as well, Iowa's News Now. But Sarah, let's, for people who may be listening to us on the radio, kind of detail where these storms are.
Yep. So tracking into Vinton, it's for solely Benton County, about the southern half of Benton County, I believe.
Yeah, it's kind of central Benton County.
There we go. Yes.
North of Newhall, Highway 30, Keystone, over the city of Garrison.
Correct. So it's passing through right now. It is a tornado warned storm. We don't have confirmation it's on the ground, but we do have confirmation that it was a wall cloud just a few moments ago. If it continues to track to the northeast at about 40 to 45 miles per hour, it'll be right near that Vinton airport as well as the city of Vinton. It may pass, I would say, to about the northern half of Vinton, but regardless, if you are living in Vinton, this is the time to be getting into your safe space. Otherwise, it'll eventually start to track over Highway 218, somewhat of a busy road. So again, take that into account. It'll potentially track over Highway 150 further off to the north.
And we'd be talking about then I-380 into portions of then Linn County if it does hold together. I mean, there's going to be this thunderstorm still, but hopefully in more of a weakening state.
Sure, and we've been a little bit lucky. It's kind of feel like this storm has dodged some of the more populated areas, so it has been in some rural areas. So hopefully it kind of holds on to that trend. But Center Point definitely could be up next. It is tracking kind of north. Maybe Walker potentially could be in the line eventually. Of course, 380 north of Cedar Rapids, and between Cedar Rapids and Waterloo is going to be a target zone. And then as we head a little bit further down to the southeast, we have this severe thunderstorm warning, mainly for wind. Yep, 60-mile-per-hour winds. I haven't seen a ton of hail reports, and I don't think this system has been producing a lot of that, so take it with a grain of salt. Winds is going to be your main threat here. Into Cedar Rapids right now, I haven't heard a ton of thunder out there quite yet. But
it looks like most of this is on the south side of the city because we just are seeing north of Highway 100 some lighter rain, but down to the south into downtown toward the airport, right along I-380 right now is where that storm is. So if you're thinking of heading out, or maybe you are driving and you're heading into Linn County, either in the north or south side, I-380 is getting a whole bunch of rain right now. In fact, maybe Cara, if you have any traffic cameras that we could pull up back there as well. I know we have a few too here that we can look at, but there's going to be some very heavy rain that's likely ongoing down there. And then our last one is into Keokuk County.
Yeah, this one, I would say it's the weakest of the two, the weaker of the two, I should say. I don't think we've seen a ton of with that velocity signature, right? I mean,
yeah, it's been very, very broad and not very, not a very tight rotation there, which is good news. This storm has produced tornadoes in the past, but perhaps too just getting into that more stable air.
Yeah,
oh, there's some thunder.
Yeah, I'm hearing some thunder outside. Oh, that was a loud one. Outside our station here in Broadcast Park in the northeast side of Cedar Rapids. This tornado warned storm for Keokuk County, 13 more minutes. We'll see if they extend this. They've been kind of keeping ahead of it, so I would expect that if they're going to extend it, it's going to come here sooner rather than later.
And that rotation between Hayesville as well as Lancaster, south of Sigourney, toward Harper, Highway 149 to Highway 92.
Yeah,
so
eventually.
This is we'll just do kind of a broad picture too, and we could take the sky cam, and we've been seeing a lot of flashes of lightning as well. As now this storm's coming into Cedar Rapids, I can pop the sky cam too.
There we go.
So we've had, I mean, the roads are wet. You can kind of see some of that lightning off in the distance. Yep, and the heavier rain looks to be just south of the northeast side of town here, but we do still have some gusty winds that are going to be coming through and some of the heavy rain as well. So that's going to be a main issue if you're, thinking of heading out anywhere. Well, there's the rain now. Then you're going to be running into some of this very heavy rain that we really haven't seen that much heavy rain. We've been seeing more snow, but we have We have these storms with what could produce 60-mile-per-hour winds, maybe some small hail with it too, but some torrential rain at times. I don't think that's going to last terribly long, but could have a brief period where it's quite heavy as these storms have had a lot of moisture to work with. Now, the good news is that we haven't been hearing a lot of stuff. We haven't been hearing a lot of reports. We haven't been hearing of anything happening lately, which means that we are starting to see some improvement in terms of these storms weakening. Definitely. Now, we still have to keep our guard up, and unfortunately we have to assess when the sun comes out tomorrow of what's happened in Tama County. We know there was a confirmed tornado in Tama County. I was going to, in fact, to go to our storm reports here so we can actually see what has happened today. Oh, this is an old one. But we've had tons of reports of tornadoes in the area, as well as some hail reports. We had the heavy hail, or those large hailstones that were back to the south and west. And I don't know why I can't find that storm report one.
LSRs.
I don't know.
Well, hi.
Okay.
They're right there.
There we go. We got to get back into spring mode, everybody.
Right.
But here's those reports so far here. So you can see that there were, with the storm that's now going through Vinton County, that one started around Winterset. You had all of those reports there. There were funnel cloud reports further to the south and west as well. This started really back in southwest Iowa around Red Oak. We had our first confirmation and then continued. And then just south of the Des Moines metro area, unfortunately, where the state basketball tournament was going on, and now toward Newton. And then in Tama, there was a report south side of Tama where there was a tornado. Now those reports have stopped. Then you go down to the south, we have that storm in Keokuk County, and there had been a lot of reports around Sheridan and Corydon. And that's been where there's been some reports of damage as well, and tornadoes. And since then, there's been kind of this big gap where there's not been many reports, not even funnel cloud reports. So that's some good news. Yeah. That is certainly encouraging. They have extended that tornado warning.
They did. And I do want to say, with this tornado track, not only can you see it with the storm reports, but I just pulled up some power outages, and I know we talked about those power surges in Tama. About 1,500 customers out there right now. So just more confirmation that a tornado was on the ground, or at the very least, they had extremely damaging winds that took out their power for sure. But yep, that did just get extended.
New tornado warning now. And so this is now for Vinton, Buchanan, and Linn County. So Linn County, you may not hear the sirens go off in Cedar Rapids. I'm trying to remember where that quadrant ends and what I think we are in the northeast quadrant.
I think so too.
So northwest quadrant of Linn County. You may hear the sirens still in Center Point and Central City. You're not in this. But there's going to be the sirens are going to be sounding in Walker and Urbana, Troy Mills, and into then Quasqueton and portions of Buchanan County. They're southwest portions of Buchanan County, northwest Linn County, northeast Vinton County, coming out of Vinton. We have not had any reports of any tornadoes with this storm in the last probably 20 minutes.
I would say so.
30
Maybe
minutes.
Even more. Yep, probably before 7 p.m. Yep.
So we do not have any confirmation, but if you are in these areas, you still want to be taking your tornado precautions. It's going to be difficult now because rain could be wrapping up this storm. It could be difficult to actually see the tornado if there are any chasers still on it. Yep. And also there's this possibility that we do have because it's dark and power's also going out places.
So yeah, a couple things. One, that tornado warning for Keokuk is expired.
Okay.
So we're down to one.
Good news.
Yep, that is good news. It hasn't
so this one's going away.
Quite. They just reported. Second, we're getting reports of Pea-Sized hail in Linn County.
So that's just little hail, and that was at the Linn County Emergency Management Office, which was on the south side of town.
Yes,
so that
that's
would be,
correct.
Yeah. And I know we do have a camera on I-380. And I mean, we can hear the rain here. It maybe sounds like there's a little bit of hail here too, but here's Wilson Avenue and I-380. If you could refresh that video, it will go. And you can see that there's certainly some heavy rain coming down, and it's there's a lot of lightning ongoing. There's people out on the roads. It's Saturday night, you know. But if you can avoid going out, if you're waiting to go out, these storms are going to pass on by. You'll get some time, but it is going to be some heavy rain, and there's also some hail involved, not terribly large hail or anything like that, but we do have these storms producing some some heavy rain too. I don't know, Sarah, if you want to
Yeah.
check in with Nick and Nathan and see if they have anything
They said that
they'd
they
like
were
to pass
heading
along.
up north, so I'm assuming that they're tracking the last tornado
Yeah,
warning
they
that
were
we
watching
have.
our storms come on through. But we have, yes, the severe thunderstorm warning continues for Cedar Rapids and Ely, Bertram, Springville. You'd be up next, just passed by the airport, just east of I-380. But still some heavy rain ongoing there. It's kind of expanded a little bit further to the north, but now we have some of this hail going on around Otis. That will be heading into Bertram. Ely, kind of some heavy rain expected there, and then that would continue east of Highway 13. So Vernon View, Worthington Acres happening there right now, and then going to continue to the east there into eastern portions of the county and toward Highway 1. And then our tornado warning here, let's check
Which we do have Nick and Nathan, I think. I think they're heading that way.
Okay.
Nick, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you
But go ahead and tell us what you're seeing and
Hey,
kind
sorry.
of what you're
Yeah, right
following
now
with the storm.
what you're seeing and kind of what you're following with the storm.
Yeah, we're heading right now back to the north, heading towards that Vinton County storm. It does appear visually to look like it's getting a little bit more interesting. A lot of lightning. The storm is still producing a very high amount of lightning with this storm. So that's what we're watching very closely. The other thing, too, is that the storm motions appear to go back to the east just a little bit more, which may help it tap a little bit more into that low-level shear. So that's something we're watching that may help the storm produce another tornado, or at least at the bare minimum, begin to rotate once again. The area of interest would be just to the right of the roadway right now. We're coming up on it pretty closely. It's basically straight ahead, right north of Vinton, and Vinton's basically straight north of where we are. So again, that tornado warning will continue there for a while. We're going to keep a close eye on it. We are coming up right behind it once again, kind of in the clear side of it, where we will have a good view right into the storm. So we'll keep the live pictures up. You can feel free to split screen us during the event, and feel free to call us back whenever you want us to talk about it.
Well, we appreciate that, Nick and Nathan. Thank you, and to continue to stay safe with the now darkness that's out there, just being lit by the lightning. If we can go in on the velocity there, Sarah, it did look to tighten up a bit just north of Vinton. Now, this is still kind of more of a broad rotation. We're not seeing this tight area of circulation, so I'm sure that this storm is certainly rotating still. And we just haven't had any reports of anything with which once again would be quite difficult. But if you are in these areas, that's why we're not given the all clear on this thing, and why we're still saying to be in your safe place. This, Brandon, close call there, but around the city of Brandon into Urbana, Walker, toward Ryan, if it holds together there, that would be over the next really 10 to 20 minutes. We're going to see the storm moving very quickly, and so we don't want to let our guard down there. This is the only tornado warned storm in our area for Benton and into northwestern Linn County and Buchanan County. I think more so it's a Buchanan County issue here, where the storm is going to maybe just skirt to the northwest of Linn County.
Right. No major cities, I would say, too much Walker, in Linn County, but it has been taking this northwest or northeasterly trend pretty steadily. So I think we may just miss out on it a little bit, but that velocity signature, we've been talking about it all day, kind of spins up, spins down. Again, starting to see that rotation, and eventually we'll have Nick and Nathan kind of on this storm, hopefully giving us a better picture of what's going on there. But we'll time it out for you. 7:30 in Cheney, 7:40 in Walker, Troy Mills, 7:47, and then if it continues to hold, it'll be in Ryan just after 8 p.m. this evening. So likely going to start to hear some of those sirens in Benton and Buchanan counties over the next couple of minutes, even portions of Linn County.
Yeah, they are going off. Our engineer Steve is saying that sirens are going off in Central City, which I figured would be an issue. But you're not currently under a warning in Central City. It's just that quadrant thing.
Right.
So they might have quadrants going off. They do have that new, severe thunderstorm warning too, which also just Central City are just split between these two. But on velocity with that storm, at least, doesn't appear to be a lot of at least rotation, but certainly some small hail and some winds. We now have in Ely a confirmed 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's a severe thunderstorm right there. So 60-mile-per-hour winds in Ely in Linn County. If you want to go back to the reflectivity on that, Sarah, that's going to continue to head to the east. So that kind of south side of the storm has been kind of the stronger part, but you can see maybe just east of Cedar Rapids now it's starting to pick up. and we're going to have those strong winds heading into areas maybe just north of Lisbon and then into Anamosa, Monticello, and then catches portions of Dubuque County as well.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're just coming in now, this did get expired, I believe, this one in Keokuk officially.
Yes.
It's probably just holding on until 7:30.
Yes,
but it's
away.
gone. So basically just focused on the central portion of our area, I should say. Severe thunderstorm warning for Linn County. Let's get it close in there. For Delaware, Dubuque, Jones, and Linn County. Right now, 60-mile-per-hour winds, Pea-Sized hail with the storm, and a good amount of lightning. So those are your main threats. Not seeing it rotating, that shouldn't be your concern right now. Regardless, you should be in a safe space. If you are listening to us on the radio or potentially on your phone or some other source, it's a good idea just to pull over. It's going to be pretty difficult to drive. A good amount of heavy rain with this storm as well. Further off to the north, we do have this tornado warning. This did get extended a couple minutes ago for Benton, Buchanan, and northwestern portion of Linn County, kind of dividing the two there. This is a tornado warned storm. This one, don't have confirmation it's on the ground, but
Nathan's saying that they're estimating 60 to 70 mile per hour winds with that. So there's certainly some stronger winds probably with this storm and that possibility of a tornado. So there's their camera view of that. So they're around the Vinton area. And Nick, what have you been able to see visually with this storm now as you're getting closer to it and getting some of the lightning strikes too?
Yeah, it's very difficult to make out anything in terms of potential structure, in terms of tornado activity. That wall cloud feature now is so wrapped in rain if it's even still there. However, what you did mention, that new severe thunderstorm warning issued for very good reason. On the south side of the storm, we were hit by very strong, probably 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, almost kind of blew some tree limbs around, things like that. Very low visibility. Heavy rain continues to fall as well. So our radio listeners, prepare for the storm to enter kind of the central part of our area, including the I-380 corridor. The wind is whipping. It is dangerous wind gusts, 60 to 70 miles per hour. If you are traveling north or south on I-380, the wind is perpendicular to the highway, which means the wind is blowing right across the highway. So if you have a larger vehicle like a truck, a semi, or an RV or something like that, that's very susceptible to these very strong wind gusts, and they hit suddenly. It's no slow ramp up. It hits immediately and almost catch you off guard. We kind of knew what was coming ahead of the storm. But yeah, right now we can't really tell anything in terms of the potential tornado threat, but I can tell you that heavy rain and very strong wind gusts now moving through central portions of Benton County.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. That's kind of confirms what we were certainly thinking, because we are now seeing those reports of 60 and perhaps as high as 70 mile per hour winds. And that combined with the rain will make it difficult. So if you are traveling anywhere in eastern Iowa, it's really going to be continuing to move to the east here. North of Highway 30 is where we have some of this heavy rain ongoing and those strong winds. So that's still going to be a concern, and that will continue along Highway 151 and then along just south of Highway 20 now into portions of Buchanan County. But this storm is still on I-380 north of Center Point, and that's where the strong winds are going to be around the Urbana area, Brandon, Walker, and Spencer's Grove, Troy Mills. I think this is going to pass toward the Walker area. Rowley, Quasqueton, certainly going to be of concern there. But I-380 right now, if you are heading north out of Cedar Rapids, there's going to be some very heavy rain and those strong winds that are going to be ongoing there, and the possibility of a tornado. So if you are currently traveling and you're on I-380 and you are heading north out of Linn County toward Benton County, you might want to stop. I would suggest it heavily. And if you were thinking of heading out the door anyway, we are still dealing with these thunderstorms in eastern Iowa this evening. So we do have this tornado warned storm. There's still been some rotation. That would be located right around the Walker area, just north of Urbana and along Highway or D62, Highway 150, and Spencer's Grove, Walker, Troy Mills, Rowley, Quasqueton, Monty. And that's going to be heading into primarily, it's just hitting like the Three Corners region of Vinton, Buchanan, and Linn County.
Yeah, just passing
So-
over that area. Yeah.
It's likely going to be just northwest of Linn County, but just around the Walker area, probably going to experience some of those strong winds picking up and some heavy rainfall. And that's crossing I-380 now and heading into Buchanan County. That's where the area of concern is for this tornado warning. This is the same storm that has a history of producing violent tornadoes and that has done so in central Iowa. This has been ongoing for a long time. Lightning, thunder, heavy rain, strong winds regardless of that tornado threat. And so you want to make sure that you are still taking those precautions, lowest level of your home, away from the windows, interior room, and just waiting for this thing to pass on by. The good news is they're moving real fast, so it shouldn't last too long. But it's if it does produce a tornado, unfortunately, it's going to do some damage. And even with the winds, we could have some of those tree limbs coming down or anything loose come down too. And we have just seen a history of this, unfortunately, happening this evening with these strong storms. So we have right now the tornado warning for portions of Vinton, Linn, Buchanan counties, south of Independence, north of Center Point, Cedar Rapids for the tornado warning. Then we have the severe thunderstorm warning, which does include Marion still, but the strongest part of this storm looks to be now heading towards Highway 1 along Highway 151, Springville, Anamosa, Cass, Monticello, all up in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Hopkinton will be just heading your way here shortly. Oh, now all of Linn County pretty much is in this warning.
They kind of just filled in the gap, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
that's for 60 mile per hour winds. This is not surprising. As I was mentioning, if you're heading out anywhere, you know, you're going to have this issue of the heavy rain and such. So we have around Newhall, Belle Plaine, down to the southwest of Belle Plaine, some hail it looks like there, but some heavy rain that's going to be coming down. And that's a look at Highway 30 or I-380 at Highway 30, so south side of Cedar Rapids, where there's still some rain coming down. Now this is starting to head to the east. If we have any Springville cameras too that we can maybe look up, that would be great because that's where the heaviest part of this is at the moment. So
I do have one.
Yeah, it's just kind of a still, unfortunately. I know they don't have the
but you can see the
camera,
heavy rain. Yeah.
But that's where it's at right now, and then heading along Highway 151. So now new severe thunderstorm warning, which does include Cedar Rapids once again. Sirens are not going to go off for this one. 60 mile per hour wind gusts, but still, and now a quarter size hail. So now that they've upped the hail amounts and size too there.
For sure. And unfortunately, just not getting the damage reports to kind of, relay to you all. It's dark. We kind of lost that a long time ago. And because of it, we're just not seeing a lot of those confirmations. But we do know that we're dealing with two severe thunderstorm warnings now that kind of have filled in the gap. It's really this line of thunderstorms. There's not a lot of rotation going on with theirs, especially the one that's just outside of our area. Yeah, not necessarily seeing those with the thunderstorm warnings.
I will say you can see some of these winds picking up. That's not necessarily indications of rotation, but I'm hearing at a Newhall. I have a friend there saying that the winds have just started to pick up and they're pretty strong around Newhall. I'd imagine that's the case around Belle Plaine, and there's probably some hail around there too, and then just around Brooklyn and heading into Iowa and Benton County is probably going to have some hail with that. And then this one is the tornadic storm where there is rotation there, and it's certainly possible that storm's rotating and producing some strong winds, but haven't had any reports of any tornadoes as of late.
Yeah, so some good news there. It has weakened. The last time we had a confirmation that it was on the ground was when it was way back when in Tama. So it's been a little bit of time, but regardless, all these storms moving through are pretty strong. They're producing some pea-sized hail, some damaging winds, which is what we were prepared for. But we are on air right now, and we'll continue to be on air for this tornado warning that has been going on for a little bit of time. Not sure if we have Nathan and Nick. I know they're kind of tracking up that way. Maybe we can at least get an image of how much the rain's going down.
Their camera up. I also say Steve Hart told me he's on Live View 4. If we could pull that up too. He is by, what town does he live in? I can't.
Coggin?
Coggin, there we go. Northern Linn County and Coggin.
Okay.
So he said that the wind is rain's starting to pick up there, and so that's in one of those severe thunderstorm warnings. And so There was the tornado warning that included that northwestern corner of Linn County, but it looks like that rotation's passing to the north. So,
yeah, heavy rain coming down. And as mentioned, it has been a little bit dry. So hopefully not going to necessarily deal with too much flash flooding out of this
no,
system.
I might just see some rain pooling.
Sure. But of course you can see the lightning with those storms as well. So here's the tornado warning that we are tracking. It is just to the west of Coggin. You were just looking at an image from Coggin. Not there yet, but could get extended into there if it continues to track this way. But the way it's going, it's continuing that northerly trend. So I think it'll miss out on there. Just passing through Walker, Iowa now, likely seeing some damaging winds from there. We can hear the rain from outside our studio there. It's quite loud. Otherwise headed towards Quasqueton, eventually tracking further off into Buchanan counties, and will continue to move northeast at about 45 miles per hour. So don't have a ton of storm reports going on with this. But, you know, we can look at our radar and we can look at our velocity pattern here and show that there is some indication that there could be some rotation. So that's why we're on the air right now. If you're coming on because you're hearing the sirens as it does continue to track in some of those bigger cities across eastern Iowa, that is exactly why.
And right now, I mean, we have like some really just heavy or strong winds happening around the station here. Our camera's like 500 feet up, so it's not necessarily getting what's at the surface, but you can see it shaking, and we have some winds that it's saying sustained around 20 miles per hour, and probably seeing some of those gusts that are getting up there around maybe 40, 50 miles per hour. So this is kind of outside even of some of the heavy rain that's falling, but it's just kind of whipping the camera around. And we're going to be experiencing that for a while because we have another line of storms that's going to come in too, unfortunately, and keep that wind risk up. So if you were thinking of heading out, or maybe you're hearing us on the radio and you're driving around the Linn County area, and this includes into portions of Vinton, Buchanan, Iowa counties, you are going to be experiencing some strong winds as well as some heavy rain coming down at times.
Not going to be easy to travel by any means, I think is safe to say. We do have a couple more storms obviously kind of behind this system. Those are sub-severe right now. So it does look like once we kind of get through these couple of warnings, including that tornado warning, we'll hopefully start to see some improvement and not necessarily, you know, seeing the hail, the heavy winds, the strong winds and the heavy rain, of course. So here's a look at what's happening across Iowa right now. We're kind of nearing the end of this system. You may have seen it start off in western, track through the Des Moines Metro, and now it's here. So we do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. Let's take a look at those. The bigger of the 2 is for Vinton, Iowa, Johnson, and Linn counties. This goes until 8 p.m. tonight. 60-mile-per-hour winds, as you just saw on our Skycam over Cedar Rapids, likely 20 to 25-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Those gusts certainly could be upwards of 50 miles per hour, though. This severe thunderstorm warning has been extended from this one. Also goes until 8 p.m., includes areas of Monticello and Anamosa. Starting to see those storms push through there as well. But of course, the reason we're still on your TV right now is this tornado warning. Goes till 8 p.m. tonight, so we're slowly nearing the end of it. Hopefully not seeing a ton of rotation. Yeah, that rain out there is so distracting.
Strong.
Nobody opened the door.
My goodness.
Here's your velocity signature for the tornado warning. It has been looking this way for quite a bit of time, showing indication of that rotation possible when we start to see those reds and those greens meet going away and towards the radar. That's where that rotation could be. Still not seeing any confirmation that anything's on the ground. The last time we had that was in Tama.
I was going to say, let's see what Nick and Nathan are up to, and if they have seen anything visually with this storm. I'm sure it's still rotating, but we have been experiencing, even outside of some of the heavy rain guides, some really strong winds in the Cedar Rapids area.
Really strong winds in the Cedar Rapids area.
Yeah, right now we are just leaving the Palo. We're kind of in the center of Palo right now, heading back towards the Cedar Rapids Metro. The storms are moving too fast for us to catch that tornado warning, heading towards northern Linn County and to Buchanan County. So we're kind of abandoning that storm for the time being. I will tell you, these storms are producing an incredible amount of rainfall, very low visibility. The other issue you may experience in the roadways tonight will be hydroplaning. If you are driving out in the roads tonight or planning on driving around and you may experience the thunderstorms, make sure you're not having cruise control on. That'll be something you definitely want to make sure you turn off, because the rain is incredibly heavy as this line moves on through. We're seeing a lot of lightning flashes with this activity as well. And of course, the strong wind gusts. We definitely had a period there of wind gusts approaching 50 to 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour. It came suddenly and then really began to wind down. So the weather is quieter here near Palo. We're going to continue our drift towards the Cedar Rapids Metro. But again, the last time that we had a confirmation here, either myself or meteorologist Nathan Santodomingo here, was in Tama. We had that cone tornado on the south side of Tama. Since then, we've not been able to confirm it, but one thing I also want to keep in mind is that historic tornado outbreak that happened in December, most of those tornadoes we weren't able to confirm until days, if not weeks after, because it's nighttime. Very difficult to actually see these tornadoes this time of year. Usually we have to wait until they produce damage this time of night to really be able to confirm that. So just something to keep in mind. You may not be getting constant reports of tornadoes at the moment like we were earlier, but it doesn't mean it's not on the ground because it's just kind of under the cover of darkness, also heavily wrapped in rain, the other issue we've been experiencing tonight.
Thanks so much, Nick. And yeah, we can leave the double box up so people can kind of get a visual of that heavy rain moving through. Do want to point out that the tornado warning did get extended. Not completely shocking, given that radar signature and velocity signature that we've been tracking for over an hour now. But it is now headed into Buchanan and Delaware counties. You can see that rotation right there with this red meets that green.
Which is north of Walker and south of Quasqueton.
Right. And so it's kind of missing out in between those two cities, but it will eventually begin to track over Highway 13. This is Highway 20, which is a concern. That's the one that we definitely want to keep an eye on. It is a Saturday night. If it does continue to track that way, which that's the direction it's headed, it will cross over there. I would say within about 5 to 10 minutes in between Manchester and Monty. So literally just a couple of minutes before we could see that crossover. So if you know anyone on Highway 20 or you yourself are listening to it, get off the highway, get into a shelter. This is a tornado warned storm and likely potentially on the ground, definitely showing that indication that it is rotating. So not a good idea to be in a car at the moment. This is just to verify the only tornado warning that we do have in effect. It really is just tracking this cell. This is the exact same cell, if you're coming in now, that it was extended, that actually left that damage in Winterset, which is just to the southwest of Des Moines, and continued to track into Newton, was in Tama. Same cell and still same signature that we're seeing. Hasn't lost a ton of energy or momentum thus far. If you are coming in, maybe you're in the Cedar Rapids area or headed into Monticello, that's a severe thunderstorm warning. About 2 cells that we're looking at with this one. This one right here headed into Anamosa and Monticello. This one near Blairstown, or I would say a little bit further west of Blairstown, is tracking in as well. The main threats with these 2 storms is going to be the damaging wind. We haven't had a ton of reports of hail thus far. I think we had Pea-Sized hail earlier on in Cedar Rapids, but not necessarily going to be the main thing that's damaging it. It is going to be that wind there. So severe thunderstorms continuing to track across. This one will eventually move across Highway 218, across 380 and towards Anamosa, Monticello area. It does impact a lot of counties, though. It is a really long line of thunderstorms. Benton, Iowa, Johnson, Linn counties, that tornado warning just to the north of it. So this is not tornado warned. This is just a severe thunderstorm warning. We're not on your TV for this reason, but as we head to the north, that tornado warning is why we are. This is a new one, right?
The severe thunderstorm warning?
Yeah, this one.
Yes, that is also new. They've just been kind of warning this entire line now of storms. And so the Weather Service is saying it is shifting to more of a wind threat, but there's still certainly that rotation there that is leading them to keep that tornado warning, but this is primarily going to be a wind issue. And Nick's described to you what it's like out on the roads, kind of feeling that
standing water,
things getting blown over. Roads are going to be wet. Visibility is going to go down. So if you are currently out on the roads and you can, you know, maybe get home sooner, or you were thinking of going to dinner and you're really far away, you might want to just hang out and wait for these storms to pass on by, because there's quite some heavy rain with these storms, as well as those strong winds, which is going to reduce the visibility and then also just make it a little tough to drive out there too.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also, they're moving quickly. They're moving at like 40 to 45 miles per hour. So even if you just wait a little bit of time, they'll be out of here kind of quickly. I know it's only about between 7:47. I just see it now. So it's early in the evening, but if you just give it a little bit of time, they should be off to our far off. Rebecca would have been in bed like 2 hours ago, but it's early for me. It would have been far, they'll be eventually far off to our east, and there isn't anything developing behind this line of storms. So this really is it, that cold front catching up to it, and it's going to really break up these storms. Of course, the reason why we're here is this tornado warning goes till 8:30 p.m. tonight for Buchanan and Delaware counties. This just won't let up.
Yeah, it's just enough rotation, I guess, that they are they're concerned about it. This is just southeast of Quasqueton, or yeah,
a little bit further,
and kind of east of Quasqueton, heading toward Highway 13 and toward the Manchester area. And we have not gotten any reports. And as Nick was mentioning too, you know, 80 days ago, it was just 80 days ago, we had that outbreak on December 15th. And we were learning of tornadoes being confirmed, what, Sarah, like maybe like 3 weeks ago? We've heard of
months later.
Yeah. So we could be hearing of some things happening there, and this is a rural area as well, so it's possible that they will see some scars from the tornado in fields and such. We don't have any snow on the ground yet, but we do have, so we have that bare ground where there could be the tornadoes that are maybe making their mark on some fields, maybe some tree damage. We haven't heard of anything. But if we do, then we'll of course be able to pass that along. But the good news is we haven't heard of any damage. We just have been seeing this rotation that's strong enough for them to keep the warning in place.
Right. The last damage we could confirm was in Tama County. So it's been just over an hour, I think, before that passed through that area. But I think the reason why the Weather Service is holding on to this is because that radar signature is pretty good. It's not, you know, it's not ideal. It's not, oh, it's on the ground. We don't have debris necessarily or any indication of that, but it is strong enough that you should be getting in your safe space. So if you are in Manchester, Oneida?
Yes.
Oneida. Or even Dyersville as it continues to track that way. It's a good time to be thinking about getting in that safe space or even heading down there now as this storm continues to track. You likely will be starting to hear those sirens, but I do want to emphasize that we have this tornado warning. If you're coming on now, you may not be in it. You may be in that severe thunderstorm warning, which is just to the south of it. Most of our area is under a severe thunderstorm warning, only a small portion under this tornado warning, and that's why we're on your screen now. Even if you look over at Nick and Nathan driving around, a good amount of standing water on the roads. Regardless, it is going to be a very high or a very producing rain event. We do have a lot of precipitation coming down out there. And
I'll say I was looking at our gauge here. We went from 0.2 to almost 5. So we picked up 3/10 of an inch in like 20 minutes.
Right.
And you can see, I mean, a lot of lightning happening with Nick over there. Those roads are wet. It is not going to be an easy drive if you are heading out. And this is covering a big portion of the area. I wanted to, you know, just kind of zoom that out so you can see that we have where those warnings are. Benton has been let go of the tornado warning as well as that northwestern Linn County. We still have the severe thunderstorm warning for much of Benton. I think almost all of Linn County is in some warning. There's like 3. It's all right. But this is for the 60-mile-per-hour winds. There could be some occasional up to 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then we have a lot of lightning happening, that heavy rain coming down, and it's going to hit I-380 again with that next batch that's just in Benton County right now.
And if you're really between like Highway 20 all the way down to well south of I-80 into Washington County, you're experiencing some sort of weather, but only a small portion is under that tornado warning. I do want to stress that all these yellow boxes you see here, those are our severe thunderstorm warnings. We're not seeing them rotating. So a lot of times you will see them be upgraded. That's not going to be the case with these tonight. The real threat is going to be the wind, maybe some small hail, heavy rain, lightning. Shouldn't be anything crazy, but we are focused on this tornado warning here.
Max full. They said they needed to take a little break because they've been driving since Winterset, Iowa.
Probably out of gas by now, right?
I think they need to go to the bathroom. So that's a little TMI for everybody. But they were just they've been watching those storms come on through, and thankfully, as they've gotten into our area, they have been in a weakening state in terms of that tornado threat, but the wind threat, which we knew was going to be the problem, we said central Iowa and the western corner of our area, tornadoes would be going to be the issue. Now we had that confirmed in Tama. We still have that tornado warning for Manchester and into Buchanan counties there, Buchanan and Delaware counties. But we haven't had any confirmation in about an hour of any tornadoes that have been produced or much in the way of damage. We are, though, hearing of some gusty winds, some strong winds, and some heavy rain. And if you were just you're in Benton County and you just had those storms come through, Newhall's had some strong winds. It's coming back into Newhall. There could be a little bit of hail with that too, as it's moving through Blairstown currently, heading to the east toward Newhall, Norway on Highway 218. And then we have some heavy rain north side of Cedar Rapids and Palo towards Center Point and moving into Central City. We got then this other storm that's down in Iowa County, and this includes Iowa City, North Liberty, Hills, Coralville, Riverside, Wellman, north of Keota, Oxford. You're going to be dealing with heavy rain, some small hail, gusty winds. And then we have this other storm moving into Cedar County or Jones County rather, Anamosa, portions of Cedar in around Lisbon, just west of Clarence, probably getting into some rain and gusty winds. But Anamosa, Monticello, along Highway 151 and moving toward Cascade. But we have not had any damage reports come in. We have just heard of some strong winds, and we have a large portion of the area along and south of Highway 20 under some sort of warning. We are seeing things calm down in Tama. We do have power outages in Tama County. I'm hearing of internet outages as well, even around Cedar Rapids.
I checked power outages, so some decent news there. It seems like it kind of trailed off towards the Tama County, even a little bit further off to the northeast towards Vinton. So we're not getting a ton of reports, but that could be something that comes a little bit later. We know that these are a little bit delayed. So hopefully these are continuing to weaken. One thing you'll notice in this line of storms is they're not as discrete or isolated, individual. They're all kind of blending together. And when that's starts to happen, we usually lose some momentum and it becomes more of a widespread rain event. So it's exactly kind of what we thought would happen, where it's moving into a less favorable area and has been hanging out here for an hour or so now. So, you know, hopefully we will start to see some of this break up and it just doesn't continue to be extended, especially that tornado warning far off to our north. I'll put a little tracker on this. Still steadily moving at about 45 miles per hour. So it is relatively quick. We'll time it out. Let's look with the velocity signature first. All right, there we go. Let's time that out. So Manchester, this is the time to be getting in your safe space. Eventually headed towards Oneida, I believe.
Oneida?
Oneida. Got it. 8:08 p.m. That's when we're looking at that one. If it continues to go this way, again, it does expire at 8:30, 8:32 Holy Cross. And after that, I would say hopefully we're talking about a weakening system. And even if you just start looking at that velocity pattern, it is weaker. It's a lot weaker than it was, but we've seen this storm do a lot of spinning up and spinning down, strengthening and weakening. So don't want to count it out. This tornado warning is in effect for a reason, and it's in effect till 8:30 p.m. So we got about 35 minutes.
I will say, and we can back this up too on the radar, we have a report that there was a building destroyed in Vinton. And so this is, this was earlier. We were seeing the velocities pick up, and that it's possible that there was either wind damage or it was from a tornado that occurred around the Vinton area. And so that's something that we will have to check in on there. But getting a report that a building was destroyed in Vinton, if you want to pass that along to the Weather Service, we unfortunately don't have a ton of information on it. Let me see if we can get an address and see. Do we have live view 4 still up of Steve's image that's in the Coggin area? Northern Linn County have some, you can see, I mean, it's like almost raining like sideways there because of the heavy, the strong winds and the heavy rain that's happening. So this is what you're going to be experiencing across the board, whether you're in the warning or not. It is going to be, it's going to be heavy rain. It's going to be difficult to see at times, and you can just see that wind's really picking up there too. So we haven't gotten any other reports of anything yet. We still have this tornado warning ongoing, and it is possible that maybe back toward Vinton there was some sort of confirmation of some damage there, but we don't have anything as of late that has occurred. So severe thunderstorm warnings continue. Anything else from
Yeah,
the weather service.
unfortunately, just not a ton coming in, obviously, because it is dark out. But that's also a good sign, right? We're not getting reports of any more damage or anything strengthening right now. When you look at that tornado warning, though, in that even the velocity is just it's not as strong as it was.
No.
And even the radar, it's starting to look more like a cluster. It's not as discrete or individual as it once was, which is a really good sign. But right now it does go until 8:30 p.m. Hopefully by that point we're off your TV for just a little bit. But it's right over Highway 20.
Because there's news at 9 o'clock, not because there's going to be more tornado warnings, hopefully.
Right, that too. But yeah, it would be passing over Highway 20 as we speak if it is on the ground, and we don't have confirmation of that, but we have to treat it like that when we see that rotation.
So that would be around so you're still seeing that warning back toward Cosqueton. I believe they're going to let go of Buchanan County.
They did, I think.
I think they'll let go of that one. I'd imagine when this warning updates, it'll just be Delaware County.
Yes.
And so we have that over Manchester, around Manchester. So if you're in Manchester, Earlville, Oneida, and then toward New Vienna, Colesburg,
Highway
Petersburg,
38,
Greeley, Thorpe. You want to make sure Highway 13, east of there, north of Highway 20, or really along Highway 20, is where you are in your safe space, as we do have this tornado warning. And regardless of if there's a tornado or not, very strong winds have been associated with these storms tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you are listening to us on the radio or you know someone that's traveling, it's crossed over a lot of significant highways. So, of course, we don't want anyone in the car, so make sure to give them a call and tell them to pull off. Otherwise, we are on your TV. We'll do a quick reset if you're just coming in now. I know it's kind of tracking across eastern Iowa. Maybe you had plans or you're looking to get out the door. Probably not the best time to do it right now. We have this strong line of thunderstorms. We'll start from the south. Our first one is that severe thunderstorm warning for Iowa, Johnson, Keokuk, and Washington counties in our area. Goes until 8:30 p.m. Seeing a good amount of lightning being produced with this storm. We'll pop that up. Those are all those little white dots that you see there. And also damaging wind. We haven't had a ton of hail reports, but it certainly has been possible. Further off to our north, we have this large severe thunderstorm warning for Vinton, Iowa, Johnson, and Linn. This one, I don't know if they're going to let go of it. They might let go of it. It expires in a minute, and I'm assuming that they're just going to go with this extension right here, even though this portion by Newhall definitely could be producing some gusty winds. So we'll keep an eye on that. But okay, it did get extended. Okay, there we go. I see it now. So here we go. That one's expired. We have this one for Anamosa and Monticello. That one is for portions of, or this one I'll say here because they're all kind of blending together, for Delaware. We'll get there. Delaware, Dubuque, Jackson, and Jones counties. That is again for that wind, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Goes until 8:30 p.m. And of course, the tornado warning is our priority right now. Is continuing. Looks more like a cluster, which is some good news for us because that means it's not as discrete and it's likely, hopefully, not producing a tornado that's on the ground. But of course, it would be hard to tell right now. Your velocity signature, weaker, still seeing some level of rotation that could be possible, but it's certainly not as strong as it was. But the Manchester area is really where it is right now. It's eventually going to track over Highway 38 towards Greeley. Thorpe will likely be a little bit to the north. Petersburg eventually, Colesburg, Highway 3. We could be talking about New Vienna. I think it'll pass north of Dyersville, Earlville, Delhi. All of you are in the track of this storm. Even if there's not a tornado on the ground, pretty confident that we're going to have some damaging winds as well.
And some unfortunate news to pass along here is that there's crews that are now doing some search and rescue and saying that Madison County Emergency Management, where this cell originated with its large tornado, is saying that there's multiple deaths from the Winterset tornado and they are still doing active searches. The National Weather Service is saying that this is at least an EF3 tornado that occurred in Winterset. That's from their initial observations. If we go to the weather scan there's some video of some of the damage in that area. And so this is just awful to see. Yeah. There have been homes damaged, a car overturned there. You can see the trees just ripped apart, and this has been some horrific damage to see and some awful news to hear out of central Iowa there, where this storm originated from. So it has had a history of producing a violent tornado, and it has continued to the east here now over the last several hours. So we'll of course continue to learn from that. We have our partners over at KCCI that will surely get some more information. Madison County Emergency Management, though, now confirming multiple deaths from that tornado, and luckily we have just had some damage reported around Tama and Vinton, and the storm has significantly weakened since then.
Yeah, no, for sure. But if we see the damage that it could done or has done, we should definitely take it seriously. So, tornado warning, 28 minutes left technically just for Delaware County, unless it gets extended. Regardless if a tornado is on the ground right now, we know it's producing very damaging winds. So get into that safe space. If you're trying to head out this evening, wait a little bit before it passes. I promise it is worth your while. The good news is we are seeing it weakening. When we start to see it in this cluster form, it's not so much discrete. It likely means that it is doing that. The sun is down. We're not having as many ingredients per se that we need to make storms or tornadoes. So all good news. But until this is expired, we're going to be on your TV providing you the latest. We did see a lot of damage reports, roofs, trees, power lines, all these things across roads, in yards. Just need to take it seriously because we do know that what this cell has been capable of doing over the last several hours this afternoon and now evening. So it is for Delaware County, goes till 8:30 p.m. tonight. Otherwise, maybe you're chiming in because your phone told you there was a couple severe thunderstorm warnings. The one is just off to the east of the tornado warning. This one for portions of Delaware kind of gets the little southeastern portion, I should say, Dubuque, Jackson, and Jones counties, and then eventually it will track off to Illinois and Wisconsin.
And we are getting some more information from Vinton now. Damage to structures, gas leaks reported by emergency management on the northwest side of Vinton. Possible tornado. We were seeing that rotation pick up there in Vinton earlier, and that's when they, kept extending the warning there. So we had possibility that it went from Tama to Vinton. And then has done some damage there. So we have damage in the Vinton area, some structural damage, gas leaks, unfortunately. So if you're in Vinton and you can stay inside, that would certainly be for the best, especially now that it's dark, maybe some power poles down and such. And so that was about an hour ago, it'd been around 7:20, about 45 minutes ago, when there would have been a possible tornado there on northwest side of Vinton.
And you can see some of those storm reports. We know that it passed likely south of Tama, and then it tracked into Vinton or into Benton County. So that wouldn't be completely surprising. But of course, that damage right there, a little bit more minor from what they encountered in central Iowa, but certainly nothing to take with a grain of salt. We'll do a little bit of a reset here. We did get a bit of an extension down to our south. It's pretty much out of our area, though. It is out of our area, in fact, but the storms are starting to push out of there, so I do think this one will be expired here shortly. It goes until 8:30 p.m., but again, the more severe portion of the storm is now tracking off to our east. Up to the north, we still do have this severe thunderstorm warning. This one for Delaware, Dubuque, Jackson, and Jones counties. Both of these warnings right here, the tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm warning, go until 8:30 p.m. tonight. So we'll take a look at that velocity. Yeah, I would say it's significantly weaker. This is some vast improvement from what we've been tracking today. We're not necessarily seeing them mix as much, but of course they're, the Weather Service is seeing something that they want to hold on to it and make sure that everyone is in their safe space. Just for Delaware County, though. Looks like even the rain is letting up too, so that is some excellent news. Along with this, we've been tracking something called correlation coefficient, which kind of indicates if there's debris. That can also be an indicator that a tornado is on the ground and it's lofting debris or buildings, homes, whatever it's running into the air. Not seeing that either. We would see some blue dots pop up, or a debris ball as we call it. Great news there. So we are seeing improvement with this. We're almost done, I think. I think we're headed towards the latter or the easier half of it as it moves across our area. But here's a broad view of what we're dealing with right now. Anything new you're seeing, Rebecca?
There hasn't been anything coming in. There's just those storms that are coming down or coming through the area, still producing some strong wind gusts, some small hail. There's been just in Palo, some penny-sized hail with heavy rain that occurred about just a few minutes ago. And so Yeah, they put out a new warning for that line. We're not surprised by that. That just passed
No.
through Newhall. So these storms, you know, if you're about to leave and you are going on I-380, it is going to get rough in Linn County again with some heavy rain, and we also will have some strong winds that could be 60, maybe 70 miles per hour. You can see Nick's driving there. They're heading toward, or Nick and Nathan, I'm not sure which one's driving, but they're heading toward Vinton to assess the damage there. But you can see that the roads are wet, a lot of lightning ongoing too, and that is what you're going to be experiencing as we head through the night here, that we're going to have the lightning, the rain, the wind. Luckily, yes, as we've mentioned, they're moving through quickly, but this now new warning includes Cedar Rapids, and it's going back to I-380.
Correct. And that line of storms we did mention earlier, I kind of thought it would be extended. Wind is your main threat there, but you can see a ton of lightning as well on that Road Warrior camera, them out chasing right now. So again, just stay inside for the time being. We should see this kind of push out of Linn County within the next 20, maybe 30 minutes. We are still left behind with this tornado warning though. 20 more minutes on this. Not getting any word that they're going to expire it earlier. I do think that they're just kind of nervous because this storm has kind of spun up, spun down, and we're even kind of seeing this velocity change a little bit. It's certainly not as strong as it was, but we're going to take it as there's a tornado on the ground when there's a warning in place. It's dark. We don't have any indications or people confirming that it's on the ground, so all we have is our radar to go on. And so if you are in the polygon, be sure to be headed into that safe space here momentarily. I think we just got another severe thunderstorm warning.
They're continuing. They probably just updated that one for Dubuque County, Delaware and Dubuque, for 60-mile-per-hour winds and up to quarter-size hail. We haven't had a lot of hail reports. Yeah. We have had some wind reports, some confirmation of 60-mile-per-hour winds. I'm guessing they're going to let go of this tornado warning here soon.
It's a good sign when they usually put the thunderstorm warning right ahead of it. You know, they're not necessarily going to extend it, and we're not really seeing that rotation too much either. So they did just cancel it?
It looks like.
Okay, yep.
Yes.
So they did just cancel. There it goes. It is gone. No more tornado warnings in eastern Iowa. Before we get you back to regular programming, just a quick look at these severe thunderstorm warnings. These all carry through about 8:30 or 8:45 tonight. The main threats for you are going to be those damaging wind, the potential for some hail, and of course we're dealing with heavy rain. But luckily, no more tornado, no more rotations with these. So for now, we'll get you back to normal programming. Iowa's News Now will be on at 9 tonight and 10 on CBS 2.